TheoristCast. Welcome back to the TheoristCast. My name is Lucid,
And I'm the popular pop bot.
and we're just talking about this latest episode of Loki. Just not a whole lot going on. Few things going on. Not the most exciting episode. But yeah, I just wanted to hear Pop Bot's theories on and thoughts on it. I got a little bit of it before, but we had a little error, so just wanted to hear that again.
So it looks like your theories are lining up to be where Marvel is going with this show. And that's fine. I was hoping for something a little different. I'm not crazy about whatever emotional connection Loki and Sylvie seem to have. I hope that Marvel is not just doing some kind of interdimensional love story and Loki's gonna find a woman that makes him a better man and yada yada. I hope that's not the case. I hope that whatever issues those two are causing when the timeline comes together is known to whoever this villain is, because it's obviously not the Time Lords, plural, and that something about them working together, he knows that could lead to their end. So he's trying to keep this from happening. And maybe that's why this individual went after Sylvie when Sylvie was a child, and destroyed all of Asgard to do so, which would be very interesting. But the ending, the actual cap on the show, makes you think that something else could possibly be going on, because obviously there are multiple Lokis fighting this battle, and why Loki was sent there, lots of questions. I there's things that I wasn't crazy about in this episode, but the way it is being written, Marvel is doing its best to keep you off kilter and throw you off your game when it comes to figuring out what their story is doing, which I'm all for, as long as you still tell a good story.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I don't necessarily like this. The beginning of this series started great. It felt like this was going to be a great show, a cool noir detective-ish show, and now it feels like some, like you said, some trans-dimensional love story that like we're gonna defeat the bad guy with the power of love or something.
Oh my! I hope to goodness it's not that. This is not a Disney princess story.
And even then, they're not doing. Even Disney princess stories aren't doing that anymore. Moana, Frozen, they're all like, nope, that's not the case. Love is not the answer anymore, except if it's love for yourself. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly where they were going with the whole, and who knows, maybe this is in reference to the comic, as I've never read like Agent of Loki or any of the Loki comics that involve Sylvie and Loki together. So I'm not sure really if there was a romance that we're just poo-pooing about because we just don't know exists, right?
Yeah, I will say this: the show is making me want to go back and read Agent of Loki. If I didn't have a life and bills to pay, I would take the time and just try and read all of those comics. But I do have a life and bills to pay. I guess I should have read it when it first came out. But the show is making me more interested in the Agent of Loki storyline, but I don't know how close the two are.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. Like, it's one of those things. It does beg that question. Would as because, like I say, the reason I love MCU, while a lot of people hate it, is I love MCU probably because of how close they or at least not close, but how much they are siphoning from the comics, right? So as a lifelong nerd, my father was a nerd. I was born a nerd. I just love that we're seeing this on the big screen, and not just that, but it's actually based on the stuff that we grew up reading, and it's not just some person's interpolation to make a quick buck off of it, which back then was good enough for us. All right, we were just happy to have the X-Men on screen. At one point, we were happy that we were getting a Fantastic Four until three time is not a charm. So we learned that three
Jeez.
times is not a charm.
We almost got a good one with the third one, and then like halfway through the movie, they just threw a grenade into the movie. It was like, what just happened to this movie that was going so well? Anywho, um,
But yeah, so,
I
but yeah,
guess
but in
we'll
terms of
see how it goes. You know, that what you're saying has been one of my biggest gripes with poor comic book movies, like comic book movies and cartoons that are just not any good, because there are some storylines that are just amazing. They tell amazing stories in comics, and you're talking about, you know, comics have been around since the 20s, and some of these are old. You can go back and read some really interesting old storylines. You'd have to update them, of course, to bring them to the big screen, but it always perplexed me why why are all of these movies so bad, all of these stories so poorly done. Like every Punisher up until the Punisher series, it's like the worst. And Frank Castle has a great story, a great backstory, and what he does is hard and harsh. And he's encountered some interesting characters and had some interesting situations. But he remains the Punisher. He remains Frank Castle. And why, you know, with all of this material, how come they keep screwing it up? Like all these bad Spider-Man, you know, it's like, until there was a good one. But I got what you're saying. I agree with that.
well,
I
another
like
good
what
one. Let's
Disney is doing.
for what Sam Raimi did. For what Sam Raimi did at the time, you know, you can
It was
forgive
awesome.
You can forgive Spider Wrist, right? Web Wrist,
Yeah,
right? At the time, you're like, you know what? That's
yeah.
fine.
It's a
That's
minor
fine.
thing. I'm not gonna poo-poo the minor thing. That was a well done show.
Right?
It was a well done movie.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Especially for one of the that was the one that everyone says that kind of showed everyone that comic book movies can be these cinematic experiences.
Yes.
Right? They're like, oh, like we can go in and actually feel something. Spider-Man 2 when he's holding that train, like even then, a lot of people say Spider-Man 2 was better than Spider-Man 1, especially because of that train scene. And you're like just sitting there feeling from like, man, am I about to tear up during a Spider-Man movie? Right? And it's
Yeah, I got you. They've inserted some really well done scenes, some touching scenes, and again, I don't know why it took so long, because there are scenes in comic books, there are panels in comic books since I've been reading them since I was a teenager. That it's like that was amazing, you know,
yeah.
and it, you know, it elicits emotions. Why they haven't been able to do that? Um, why it took them so long to be able to do that is kind of still beyond me. But hey,
I mean,
Hollywood is
it's not to
Hollywood.
me. I mean, to me, it's. I mean, that's actually you actually answered it. Hollywood is Hollywood. The people that were making the movies weren't comic book fans. None of them read comic books. They might have known about it, but ain't none of them weren't comic books. Especially the people that were making it, that were yesing and knowing certain ideas. Right? Those guys did not read comic. Maybe the person wrote it, who wrote the script, might have like had some interest in it, like ooh, Spider-Man, you know. But the producers and everyone that gave the yes or no about no, we actually don't like it. Actually, can you change that to this? I just don't get it. Those are people that never read the comics, so they have no connection, they have no feelings, they have no emotional investment towards it, and that's why Kevin Feige is in charge of Marvel, not just Marvel Studios, in charge of Marvel. Right, because he got brought in, and from the beginning he was a comic book nerd. He loved the Marvel comics, and that's why they did so well, because the person that was giving the yes and no's on ideas was someone who loves those pages as much as we do. Right,
Yeah.
so I'll give it to
So
him. That was yeah.
yeah, I agree that you know, with with your original statement that Marvel has stuck close to the comic books, close to good material, and they've for the most part enhanced the stories by bringing them to the big screen, which again is no small feat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it really took a long time.
Yeah. Well, it but I say the reason is because for a long time they were never taken. I would say it's Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi showed them that not only can superhero movies make a lot of money, but also be considered so good that I think it won awards. One of them won awards. Like it showed it never took them seriously, right? We were lucky at the point to get things like Blade. Speaking, because we were talking about Blade before this podcast, about how Blade was serviceable. It wasn't a masterpiece. It probably wouldn't fit very well into like the MCU now in terms of quality, but in terms of a 90s movie or R-rated comic in the 90s, it was pretty serviceable.
Yeah, I loved Blade when it came out. Again, you can't really come. I don't know how well it would hold up. I need to go back and give it a spin. Maybe I'll have a bourbon.
It holds up surprisingly well. Like you watch it, like there's some lame lines, especially Wesley. Some people always trying to escape uphill. but besides that, like the action scenes hold up great. Some of the emotion is still there. Wesley Snipes, he's a good actor, right?
Yeah.
He took the movie seriously. Granted, word was he wasn't easy to work with, but he took the movie seriously. Well, you can't really say that for a lot of the other comic book movies preceding that and even around that. They just never took these movies seriously. They were just like, a bunch of nerds and kids are gonna go watch it. Bleh. Now it's become a thing where like, oh no, these are the biggest movies. These literally make more money than anything else we can produce.
Exactly. Yeah, and of course,
if you want to make $1 billion, you make a comic book movie.
Yeah, exactly. And as we're recording this, we're waiting with bated breath for Black Widow to come out. So 5 days, from now, you guys probably figure out the timing at that point, right? 5 days from now, right, we have the next phase opening up, which is basically all these people that are talking crap. Martin Scorsese, that one dude from Blade, the vampire, the Deacon Frost, the actor who played, I don't even remember his name, Steven Dorff. All these people mad at them. They're about to have a hard another 10 years because cinema is about to be run by Marvel again. Right? Yeah, and
a small break.
I just think the way that we consume movies are changing. Movies are expensive endeavors. We all understand that. They cost a lot of money to make. But not every movie is really movie theater worthy. So that doesn't mean it's not worthy of being watched, because they're very much worthy of being watched. But to, a night out to see a flick, if you're doing it right and you're taking your significant other out, you might be having dinner. Black people usually don't do that. but if you're gonna go out for dinner and a movie,
what is crazy? I feel like I've heard that somewhere recently.
Yeah, it's like
someone say how like black people, we don't go there, we get something for, then we go, and I'm all like, oh my, it's like that really is like, I don't know why is that going around. And I'm like, black people, we don't, because we don't. I don't think of it as, I was like, we go to a movie then get dinner. No, what we eat at the theater is our dinner.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, but what I'm saying is, if you're doing it, if you are doing that dinner and a movie kind of thing, or dinner and an outing,
even at the theater,
you're spending $100 easy to go out and enjoy this movie, and at the end, you want to feel like you had a good night out, and a bad movie can ruin all of that, right? You could have had a great dinner, a great meal, great outstanding conversation, walk into a movie anticipating that you're going to watch a good flick, and then watch this flick and then be left like either it was a bad movie.
The first Justice League.
Oh, exactly. Like it was either a bad movie and it just wasn't good, or you felt like I could have watched this at home on my couch and been more comfortable and not had Sneezy McGriffith, sitting behind me, or Karen and her
kicking the back of your chair.
I won't say Karen. I mean,
Karen. You can say Karen.
Anonymous,
doesn't matter.
Anonymous individual and their 3 children, bouncing around the movie.
It's going
theater.
to be. That's going to be a Karen.
I don't want to go there, right? But
the last time I remember being in a theater. Oh no, the second to last time I remember being in a theater, I almost got into a fight because someone was on her phone. I was like, put your phone away. And she's like, I'm gonna get my husband. And I was like, he's down there. He's gonna come up there. The guy never came.
Yeah.
I was like, because he didn't want this smoke that you were trying to bring him.
Yeah. You know, I remember a couple of years back, almost getting into a fight in Florida in a movie theater. Sat down, packed movie theater opening night, which I never do. Right? I only do opening night if it's a 100%
Same with us, because it was us.
geek venture. Right? So if it's a geek movie and it's all nerds, I'm gonna go, because nerds, they're trying to enjoy the movie. They don't care about anything else. It's an experience to them. But when it's just a big movie coming out and you can't guarantee that it's going to be all nerds, I usually don't do it. But we decided to go out, and I even remember what movie it was. And it's sitting there, some cats, young cats, sat behind us and started like kicking our seats. Literally, you know, back sitting on the bus, kind of high schoolish garbage, kicking on our seats. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I look back, bro, you got to stop. And what? What you saying? I was like, oh my God. And I looked at this person's face. I'm like, this is literally a kid, right? And I'm like, anyways, this is not what this podcast is about. But back to,
it's just like, you just stand up. I'm like, I ain't trying to go to, just stand up, and he sees you like, I ain't trying to go to jail today. Right, yeah. Just like, because knowing, like, especially back then, because the seats were older school, so more seats were packed together as opposed to these big recliners.
And we were so tight.
If you stood up, you would have blocked his entire vision of the screen and been like, I don't want to go to jail today. Yeah. He would immediately like, okay, all right.
So it's like, but anyways, what I'm saying is, movies, back to the point, movies have changed, right? There are movies today, like, every movie doesn't need to be seen in a movie theater. And that's just the way it's going to be. You know, going out to the movie theater, it's an endeavor, and people understand that it doesn't need to happen with streaming. With you don't need to go to the movies. It's just they're forcing you to go to movies, and people are going to rebel against that. There are some shows like what's coming out, like Black Widow. You want to see that in a movie theater, but do I need to see? You know, what have I seen recently that I really enjoyed? But it's definitely not a movie theater movie. You know, let's take something that's Academy Award nominated that we were just speaking of, like The Irishman. It's not a movie theater movie. It just is not.
I'd be so mad. Sit there for 3 hours.
3.5 hours.
What am I looking at? What?
but so I'm not saying it's not a worthy movie. Go see the movie. It's I mean, see the movie. Don't go see the movie. See the movie. But it's not a movie theater movie. Hillbilly Elegy, it's not a movie theater movie. My Octopus Teacher, all good flicks, right? But again, it's to
be honest, even I'm willing to pay that $30, like, in terms of gas, time, dealing with people. Yeah. Right? Because, like, not putting out here where I'm at, but you know where I live, like where I live. So it's like, you know, not putting it out there, but it's like, with this, the pandemic hasn't even ended, right? And people are still like, we were walking around for July 4th, and I'm just still like, someone lit off the firework, and it was like, take that, commies. And I was all like, I don't even know why I went outside
while they were lighting off the fireworks.
Dude, I was like, why are we? I had to ask Kay, like, did he really just say that? She's like, he did. I was like, why do we come outside? He's like, are we really trying to buy a house here? Ooh. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I got my own opinion about that, but
right.
But yeah, but back to what you were saying. You know, movies are changing. How we consume.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay for Black Widow. I'm paying that $30 just to sit here on our 60-inch TV to watch it. Because like, I could watch it here, not be spoiled, and then go see it in a theater on a weekday at 9:00 in the morning if I wanted to.
Yeah. That's a 4D movie. I'd pay $30 for one ticket, right? Because I want an experience, you know. But anyhow, so give me your feelings on. Well, give me your theory, and then we could talk about feelings.
Well, I mean, as you said, it does sort of solidify my thoughts, or like my theories on Kang the Conqueror being the one who's really pulling the strings. Maybe not necessarily our villain. Our villain definitely seems to be Renslayer, but she's our Loki for for the Thanos, right? He's who we're gonna get now, but setting up for later who we're gonna have to deal with later, right? At the end of the series, we're gonna be like, they court death, purple smile. That's probably what we're gonna get with Kang or something, right? A little teaser for the setup into Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumverse, where he's already been casted as the villain. We already, they already hired this talented black actor to play him. So, which is great. I think they're really realizing that like black people can really we can play good guys and some really amazing bad guys, right? There's some really compelling shit to go for.
We're just people. We have the same capabilities of all other people.
Sure, but that's not how they felt for
Oh
Hollywood hasn't felt that way for so long. So
yeah,
it's
different podcast, but it's not how many still feel. But anyways, different podcast.
Well, yeah, tune into Widening Your Lens if you want to have that conversation.
So
only say Kitty Hour. But in terms of theories, yeah. So with that being confirmed, yeah, I believe because at first I thought you were right. I was like, oh, he's right. They're 3 Time Lords. They look a little wonky, but CGI went into everything else. I ain't gonna complain. It's for series. And then it's like robot ahead. I was like, I knew it.
Yeah.
Now what? Now, but even then, that didn't really tell me. I was like, it could not be Kang, could whoever. But what really solidified it is, as you said, that final scene with the 3 Lokis showing that no one's dead. They're not killing anyone. They're not erasing anyone from existence. They're displacing them. And it becomes a thing, where are they? That is the number one question.
Well,
where are they?
Who is the they, right? Is it so what's happened so far makes sense, but who opened this final door for them to escape to? That I don't get, but I guess they're going to explain that.
What do you mean final door for them to escape to?
To where he runs into the other Lokis.
Yeah, because he wakes up. He wakes up and the other they're standing over him like Keanu Reeves stood over your character in Cyberpunk 2099. Wake up, we got a city to burn.
Yeah, I don't get it because I haven't played it.
Yeah, but they'll get on video because I'll meme it. But anyways, but gamers will get it. But I'm surprised I actually haven't seen someone make that meme yet, because that's all I thought. The way they were standing over him was like, we have a city to burn, renegade. But to me, what do you mean door? Because I went to the end. There was no other scene. They just woke up to see.
Oh man, I think I'm confusing it. I can't remember exactly how it ended then.
Yeah, because he woke up to them hovering over them, and then it was cut to black. You know what I mean? And then credits, and we went all the way to the end to make sure there wasn't anything else. But yeah, that was it. It was just he woke up to him, which seems about right. Next week you guys gotta be ready for next week, because now it's like I said, it just opens up a bunch of questions of where are the TVA sending these people. All right, everyone that's been pruned technically isn't, I guess, pruned. They just been TVA'd somewhere, right? They've just been put off into some other, I'm assuming some other future is what it looks like. All right, there was destruction all around them. When you saw them in the background, it looked like the place had been ransacked. Had it been like an apocalypse, a war, something, right? The end of the world has happened, which can mean a few things. But what kind of tells me is that, or at least my theory is that this is the future of Immortus, right? The future Kang, right? Where Kang has taken over the entire universe. And I think multiverse even, maybe, but I think it's the universe. But where he's Immortus. Crazy storyline. If you guys aren't really sure about the history of Kang and stuff, look up the Comics Explained, Kang Explained. Talented, very smooth voiced black man explains comic books and everything, and you'll understand, and you'll see where I'm coming from, where this is coming from, because in his comics he has dealing with the TVA. So it only makes sense, or not only makes sense, but it's to me it makes sense that what would you do to people who are getting in your way, but you can't necessarily de-exist them? you send them off to where they can't cause any trouble. Possibly the future where you're already in charge. Right? So if you're in charge and they have no way of escaping that future and getting back in time to stop things, that sounds like the perfect place to, send off, any ne'er-do-wells who are giving you a hard time. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what we're going to be leading to. I'm not sure if that's what they'll reveal. Like, we're going to get all that information and be like, yep, that's where we are. That's what, they might spend a lot of time like, where are we? What's going on? Who are you? Who are you? Who am I? But, I think that's, right? So far, that's kind of what they've been doing, right?
Yeah, so while we were talking, I had to go and watch the end again, and it's like, so this is what happens when I'm not really crazy about how something is going.
You just like tune out. You're just like
I just blank it out, and so I just
imagine
watched
something
the end
more
again.
Interesting.
Where so hopefully no spoilers at this point, because
yeah,
there's gonna be spoilers if you haven't watched the latest episode. What was that, episode 5 or was it episode 4?
It's episode 4. Yeah.
So if you haven't watched episode 4, you don't want to listen to what I'm about to say. But yeah, after Loki gets erased and Sylvie confronts this Renslayer, right, and then he wakes up. So it really doesn't make sense. I just blanked all of that out for some reason. I don't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, like, the show isn't super exciting. I'm not crazy about the fight scenes, right? I love this one meme that's going around of, like, that shows, like, Loki when we first introduced him, and he's, like, bodying all the Avengers. Yeah. Right? Like, Avengers are trying to take him on, and he's like, you guys are nothing. But then, like, this country dude in the future who's mind-controlled is just tossing him around like he's a rag doll.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, what is going on? Like, it's just, there's no, like, I'm not sure what's going on with it. But unless it's something like he's lost his confidence in himself, so he's no longer, God, I don't know. I'm just, even saying that, just, like, I don't even want to finish that because I just roll my eyes at the thought that being the reason, right? Hell, as you said, like, I'm not interested in the whole Loki ex Sylvie thing, right? I would have been fine with it being, me falling in love with you made me love myself, right? I'm not necessarily in love with you, Sylvie, but dealing with you has made me appreciate me, Loki, right? As, like that I would prefer that than Loki, Loki on Loki, right? Basically. Like, that's basically what they're alluding to when he was like, I gotta tell you something. You know what I mean? And I was just like, what do we... You know what I mean? I would have been fine with him, like, kind of like, discovering, like, or even like opposite, like thinking we're gonna go, but really being like, I appreciate my evilness because of you, right? I've discovered my true self. I am a true supervillain, right? Something besides a love story. Right? WandaVision gave us a better love story.
It's
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, I don't even really know how to feel about that, because again, here we have, if you're right, what you have is two villains fighting each other, and now we got to pull in the rest of the Marvel universe, right? Because Loki's a villain. Or maybe I just haven't caught up with what's going on. Loki's no longer really considered a villain, but Loki's like killed people, like there.
The problem is they hire
like
yeah, they hire too handsome and talented of an actor and charming of an actor to play him, because
all these people fell in love with him.
Right, it's the same thing that happened to Wolverine, right? Where they end up hiring Hugh Jackman, and they're like, "Shit, we gotta rewrite him. We gotta make him the ladies' man now. Damn it."
Yeah. So it's like, I guess maybe I just gotta catch up.
And then every X-Men movie became about him because if they didn't hire Hugh Jackman, that might not have been the case. But they end up hiring him. They're like,
3 or 3 or 4 of his own movies. You know,
right?
like who else has had their own movie out of the whole out of all
None of
the
them.
X-Men?
Magneto was supposed to
Nobody.
get one. Not a single one got their own movie.
Not one. But Wolverine, he got his. But everybody, I mean, Wolverine was a fan favorite. There was a lot of hate going out there when Wolverine, when Hugh Jackman first became Wolverine, because
Yeah,
people wanted to see a short, stocky, you know, you
Brute.
know, brute.
Ron,
Exactly.
a Ron Perlman guy, but maybe shorter.
Yeah.
Like someone that's more
Exactly.
right.
So
But yeah, but and it's like someone who can pull off the ridiculous haircut, but then they like had to give us their haircut once in the beginning and then at Logan to be like, yeah, no, we gotta handsome them up because we gotta sell tickets, and it's like, and then again, like, so
this is a
that
business. That's what they were saying.
pretty much, we're like, we gotta pay this guy somehow, but
Exactly.
yeah, so but I think unfortunately that's what happened. Not to cut you off, because I know you're going on your feelings about Loki being evil, but that's what happened. Is the fact that they have to change him, and the movies are so influential in considering they are a lot of people's first introduction into to get into comics, that the comics have to follow wherever the movies are going, right? Which is why Iron Man is now a Robert Downey Jr. And such like that, right? He went from being kind of this white dude to now he's just a comic book Robert Downey Jr. Who's also rich and famous, rich and powerful.
Yeah, it's like sometimes the movies improve on the character. Wolverine in the comic book is a full foot shorter than Wolverine in the movies, and him being 5'3" in the comic, it's been a thing, right? Because what happens when a 5'3" guy smoking a cigar and a crazy haircut walks into a bar is everyone starts picking on him, and Wolverine loves that, and then he starts beating the hell out of everybody, right?
He just goes in the bar.
Hugh Jackman, what's that?
He goes in a bar with like a cowboy with the cow print. So he's just like, I'm gonna wear pink cow print. I dare someone to say something. Thank you.
Yeah,
and
he
just
does.
punches them in the chest.
Yeah, it's like, so, and that's part of Wolverine's personality. I like that scene in was it X-Men Days of Future Past, where they tried to recruit
Oh yeah,
him, and he said,
and he's just like, fuck off.
Fuck off.
They're one F word. They're like, we got one F F word for PG-13.
Exactly.
Wolverine got it. Like, that was the closest. And it was just crazy. That was the closest I feel like we've really ever gotten to like a Wolverine.
Exactly.
Right? Because that is something he would do. Logan would be like, no, leave me the fuck alone. Right? I don't want to hear it. I don't care. But yeah. So I don't know. Because yeah, I think Loki is now a good guy in the comics, or at least Kid Loki's a good guy. So I think that's where they're going into. It's just, if anything, an anti-hero, right? Which I can be okay with as long as they still emphasize the anti part, right? The same way that Deadpool did, right? Where it's like, Deadpool is like a hero on your phone, but it's like, at no point you're like, dude, like, you are problematic, and you definitely need help, right?
Yeah.
You killed.
I think it was amazing how he just killed all of X-Force. That was so well done. That was like,
oh god,
best.
that 2-second cameo from Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
It was Brad Pitt or Ben Affleck. I think it was Brad Pitt. That 2 seconds from the translucent.
Yeah. So
and you have to like blink if you miss it. It was so good. But yeah, but that's the thing. I think that's the focus, is like, if they're going to make him an anti-hero, like, because I don't think he works as just a hero, right? He's supposed to be narcissistic, selfish, right? Yeah, I think at best he's an anti-hero, but like I said, heavy on the anti, where it's almost like he's only good because it aligns with his own selfish desires, right? That's
they're pushing this God of Mischief title quite a bit, which they're trying to, I believe, they're trying to lighten the evil in Loki, you know. But if we go back to the Nordic version of the god of mischief, like he is the god of evil. The god of mischief is doing bad
Bad,
things,
yeah.
right? It's not like, oh,
Mischief is bad.
he's just such a bad boy. You know,
He's just
no,
he's just a
no,
little scamp.
exactly, and that's not the original, the historical definition. But I see that they're trying to do that because that's what mischief has become to us, right? Oh,
Yeah.
he's so
It's
mischievous, right? But and I see them pushing that title so very hard, and they're obviously trying to make him a good guy, trying to make him, like you said, this you could say anti-hero, but not even that bad, right? So
yeah. I
I
mean,
guess we'll see.
I would prefer that. Like if they make him too good, like I said, it kind of pulls away from like all that, especially considering he never had that. You know, it was the before it was more believable when the Loki like tried to kill Thanos. Right, that Loki was believable because that was a Loki that had gone through some shit. Right, has gotten his ass kicked, has lost. Right, has gotten closer to his brother, has finally seemed to have felt like some sort of acceptance among his people. Right, enough to want to fight for them. Right, at come Ragnarok because he wanted to fight because he fought for Asgard, to save Asgard and his people. This Loki, like all that development. It seems like they're trying to rush all development that we had over those 10 years, literally 10 years or like 8 years, into like this series and be like, well, this other Loki, he's good now. I know
Yeah,
we left with a bad Loki, but we're just gonna catch up to the current Loki that we actually had that we left off with, and it's just, and to me, this just seems like this is their way to do that, is to try to force our old Loki back into the MCU without just retconning the fact that he was dead, that he got killed, right?
I agree. I think that's definitely where they're going. So where the story goes from here, you know, my final like theory is I have no idea. But I don't know if I'm really
Yeah, in terms of story, no idea, no clue. I mean, I just feel like, he's going to run into Owen Wilson. We better get a fucking wow. All right, the fact that he zapped away, and I was like, and we didn't get a wow. What are we doing? This is the worst show ever,
Mhm.
right? But the fact that he's not dead, I'm like, okay, so there's a chance we might still get a wow. Wow. Right? Just look up Owen Wilson supercut of wow, and you're like, yeah, we need it. We just need one, just one. At least so they know the internet. Because otherwise, it's like, who's directing this? Who's making this show? Because it's no one that knows anything. Because like I said, otherwise, I'm not that interested. It's cool that they made that one Loki Black Loki. You gotta see like the comic book, because even I didn't realize until Popbot mentioned that that scene is from the comics, and I was like, what? And then but if I'm gonna pull up right now so you guys can see that this is the issue, right? Or at least I'm not sure what issue this is, but this is sort of like, at least I guess, close to the scene with at least the three Lokis was seen, and then Cat Loki in the back. So
Mhm.
I don't know if we're gonna get a Cat Loki, but who knows, right? Honestly, almost anything's more interesting than what we're getting right now.
Yeah, they're leaning into this multiverse, and I'm interested to see where they go with Spider-Man. And
Yeah, I'm far more interested in the implications on what this has on the MCU than Loki at all. This, as opposed to like the rest, where like I'm way more into Falcon now because he's Captain America, right? I'm kind of into Bucky, right? And the Soldier, he's got a nice little story arc, right? He's got some redemption, right, Mr. Chow, right? I'm kind of ready to be done with Loki and not see him for another couple of movies. Right, I'm kind of ready for that. And well, I'm itching to see Wanda come back.
yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever comes. I'm just a nerd, and give me more comic book geekery and give me more sci-fi, and I'm a happy guy. I just want to be entertained and well
Yeah.
entertained, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's what I'm saying.
and
I
I'll give
just
you my money in exchange for those things. So,
yeah. I just like I said, I don't feel that I haven't felt that entertained this series, right? I've unfortunately this one has felt more of a chore than the others to get through. And it's not even get through, like I watch them to get through, they're done, but it's just more of like I was like, okay, I'm watching a show.
yeah,
And I'm a little disappointed that's how I feel with an MCU. You know what I mean? I'm like, it feels like I'm watching Thor 2 Dark World. Like I'm watching a movie. Cool. Is it
yeah.
over yet? He's like, are we moving on? Is that Infinity Stone? Cool, whatever.
I get you. I guess they all can't be winners, or maybe they
Yeah.
can. But there's more to come, right?
I don't know.
I have to agree with you that yeah, I haven't been really excited about what has taken place. I have some issues with some of the things. I don't like, an Asgardian having problems fighting what are regular humans, or at least take the 3 seconds to explain why they're not regular humans, right?
Or why he's getting bodied.
Yeah, him and Sylvie. Why are they? What's going on, right? Because
Especially
of
since she
the
was so
TVA,
good, and then also
he should have his powers back, right? So
yeah.
there's all these little, these little inconsistencies bother me, but
and I would argue with you if this was, like you said, 10 years ago, and it was like if this was like the Netflix or ABC shows that they're like testing out, I would be like, you know what, they trying something. But at this point, it's kind of like, you guys kind of have don't you guys have like a Bible by now? Right? Like, don't you guys have like enough money and people like available to be like this, to make a good story? Like, this is, you guys have Disney behind you. Like, let DC flounder, right? But you guys, because but you guys have like, you guys have too much practice. It's one of those things, like, it's like seeing your football, like your favorite football. It's like seeing the Patriots fumble, right? I see Tom Brady go out there, and then it's like he fumbles the ball, and like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like, how many rings have you won?
I think I just believe, like, every show has to have its own individual personality. One thing I really enjoyed about Doctor Strange is the way the magic was presented in the movie. And they didn't spend a whole lot of time making these guys fight each other. Now compare that to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That, when you're Captain America, what you do is you throw punches, you fight, you flip.
You throw a shield.
You throw your shield. Exactly. And Falcon flies, and and so the fight scenes were amazing. The special effects, the acrobatics that were there, they fit the movie. Now, should Loki be throwing fists and fighting guards? That's, I guess Marvel believes so, in my opinion. But who am I? I don't own a studio.
Right? He's never won. He talks about casting illusions, but he's never casted one. He's never like cloned himself through. Like, I can clone myself through. He's like, you can clone yourself. No, those are illusions. And I was all like, but we haven't seen it once, right? Yeah. It's like he hasn't really done all this stuff. Like, I get not in the TVA, but yeah, but. I mean, I think we've kind of set our piece on this episode of Loki. I mean, hopefully next episode will actually not only answer some questions, but give us something more interesting to go off of. Because, I mean, in 3 days we got Loki, and then in 2 days we have to start at Phase 4, which, as I've been saying, previous episodes, God knows what that's going to open up. Just the fact that, for me, like, just the fact that Thunderbolt Ross is in there, right? Thunderbolt Ross, we have the Taskmaster. Dude, there's so many things that they're opening up. AIM, they're bringing back AIM. Dude.
Well, they brought back AIM in MODOK, right?
Well, yeah, but that's more of a jokey. I don't think MODOK really, yeah, okay. But MODOK's funny. I don't know if you finished MODOK, but it's actually like, the season ended, I was like, damn. I'm on season 2 now. How dare this be so good?
Interesting.
Right? It's actually pretty good show, but yeah, so hopefully, hopefully next episode we actually have some really good theories going on, considering that Black Widow and Loki will be coming out this week. But I'll say that's it for our episode. My name is Lucid,
And I'm Pop Bot.
and we will see you next week.